They won't let me, I can't get paid commission.
I haven't been close to that office for weeks.
And then I get paid.
Oh, look at the red shoes. She's ruby red slippers.
No, look at my.
Oh, well.
Rookie.
The election judge.
We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Tonight is the wonderful world of paperwork, so it's going to be a fun and exciting show. Of course, I am dripping that with sarcasm. A couple of quick announcements beforehand for everyone who does not know. Actually, wait a minute. We had our board meeting this past Monday. Just a couple of quick mentions from that. Terry Jones has been reappointed as our official Sergeant at Arms. And we have a new board member, Regina Orasco, who is not here tonight, has been appointed to the board as well, so we also congratulate Regina. For anyone who is not here tonight that wants to learn how to fill out the paperwork, I'm repeating this training tomorrow night here at 5, and then on Sunday we'll be here at 2 o'clock. So if you know anyone that wants to do this but just couldn't make it tonight, please let them know. Also tomorrow at 10 o'clock in Bolingbrook is the Will County Resistance Fair. This is being put on by Jackie Trainier and Congressman Bill Foster. There's going to be about 30 community organizations as well as panels and guest speakers. So it's at the Bolingbrook Holiday Inn. There's little flyers about it. We've got them on the table over there as well. And here's Regina, our newest board member.
And we will have a table at the Resistance Fair.
Yes, we will have a table at the Resistance Fair, so please stop by and say hello. Okay, so filling out paperwork is extremely boring, but if you don't do it properly, it's the easiest way for a campaign to get thank you. It's the easiest way to get your campaign finished before it gets started. So the packet that I have tonight is focused for precinct committeemen, but all levels of candidates, the packet is going to be extremely similar. There's some slight differences, but overall the packet's the same. If anyone doesn't have a packet, there's some on the left side of the table. Please grab one if you want. So a couple of quick notes. What this packet includes is just a couple of a statement of candidacy, which is you declaring I am running for office. There's an optional loyalty oath, which just says that you certify you've never been a member of the Communist Party. Then there's petitions, and that petition is getting the signatures that you need to get yourself on the ballot. And there's a couple of other forms. The signatures you're only able to get your signatures between a certain time frame. This is set up by the state law. So that circulation period, when you can actually collect signatures, is going to open up on September 5th, which is a Tuesday. So it's a week and a half from now. And then at that point, you can start taking your forms around, collecting your signatures. Then you have a week to file the paperwork. Depending on what office you're running for, you're either going to file here with the Will County Clerk, or you'll have to go to Springfield if you're running for a state level office or federal. The filing period is November 27th, which is the Monday right after Thanksgiving, and the deadline is December 4th, which is the Monday a week later. If you go after December 4th, you will not be on the ballot. Now, there are other ways around that, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. So one of the questions is, how many signatures do you need? It depends on what you're running for. Now, these are just the county level signature requirements. If you're running for a state rep, state senator, Congress, or a state level, it's going to be different. All precinct committeemen by state law require 10 signatures. Doesn't matter what party, doesn't matter what county, doesn't matter what precinct. We recommend 20, which is just 2 sheets. That way, if there's any challenges to your petitions, you should have enough to make sure that you stay on the ballot. Depending on the office, there's a formula that the state law provides that determines how many signatures you need. So for people who are running for county clerk, county treasurer, or county sheriff, if you're a Democrat, you're going to need about 1,200 signatures as the minimum. If you're a Republican, 724 is the minimum. The good rule of thumb is you take whatever number fits what you're running for. You want to get 3 to 4 times the number of that's on here, because if any signatures get challenged and you get those thrown off, this way you still have enough to get on the ballot.
Why are they different?
They're different, great question. So the reason that these numbers are different is the formula from the state is that you need to get it's 1/2 of 1% of the person who got the highest vote total in 2016 in your party. Yeah, it's really strange.
Wow.
And that's why the numbers come out so late, because they have to do the math and they have to check on all this. So
Have to do math, that's a problem.
in County Board 1, there were more Democrats that voted for the highest person than in County Board 2. So that's why the numbers are different and the different parties here. So if you don't know what district you're in, well, if you're running for county board and don't know your district, you've got a problem. But these are the numbers, and I called the county clerk's office and got these numbers today. So these are current as of about 4 hours ago. So that being said, again, we're going to focus on paperwork for precinct committeemen. The number you need to get is 10. We recommend you get 20. And we'll go right into it. So this is the paperwork packet put out by the Will County Clerk's office. This specific one that you see on the screen was the county board packet from 2016, which is what I ran. So there's a couple of pages on the screen that are not in the packet with you. There's a cover sheet, and this tells you what the numbers were in 2016 for the signatures. It also tells you the filing dates and where to go. And then this is a quick summary of what your petition packet has to look like. When you go to file your petitions, you will have to put it all together as a bound packet. Now, there's a couple of ways to put that together. I'm going to jump ahead real quick here. Right here at the top, on most of the sheets, it's going to say attach the petition or bind here. So there's 2 options that they recommend. You can either put a staple through that top part, or you can hole punch it and use a specific clasp. Now we have those clasps here, and when it gets to November, we will have a notary party here. So people can come in, have their petitions notarized, get them checked out, make sure that that everything looks right. And with that, I should add, obviously, I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice that I'm giving you tonight. Please check with election lawyers if you're running for anything. We are going to try to see if we can get a couple of election lawyers here for the notary party. We're going to have at least 3 notaries right now have said that, and myself included. So please get it checked out by a lawyer if you have any questions. But as far as how to attach the petitions, you just put a staple right here in the middle, or use the metal clap that we have, and we'll do that night. So this is the order that the packet has to be put together in, and it's the same order that I've stapled everything together tonight. So the very first thing is the Statement of Economic Interests. This form is one. This one basically declares whether or not you have any financial ties to the government. If you are, if you're doing any business with a unit of local government, they just want to know about it. So you declare if you are, or if you're not, just hit none. This is a sample, what you're seeing on the screen. So this is also old. This is not my actual address. It's our old office. What you'll do with the Statement of Economic Interest, this one is separate than all the rest. And I should add, this form is not required by precinct committeemen. It's also not required for federal candidates. So if you're running for Congress, Senate, or at the time if you were running for president or vice president, you don't need this. So this is county board, county-wides, and state level officials. What you'll do with it though is take it, fill it out, take it to your county clerk's office, and file it with them. And you do that separately. What they will then do is they'll cut off the bottom here, which is your receipt, and they'll give it back to you. What you'll do with that receipt is just put it on the top of everything else. Okay. Okay, so what we'll do now is go ahead and take a look through this. Most of these are real easy. It's self-explanatory for the most part. It's just that this is tedious work, and the materials are kind of looks like it's VCR instructions sometimes. So when you're filling these forms out, you want to make sure everything is filled out as completely as possible. So I was running last year for Will County Board for District 12, which is New Lenox and Mokina. You want to fill out the entire name of the office you're running for. So if you're running for precinct committeeman, you don't want to abbreviate any of this. You want to spell out the entire office, including if there's a district number, you want to fill that in. The reason for that is you don't want any vagueness on here. And you know, the question could come up if your petition packet is complete or not. And I've read court cases where they've discussed this. So if I had just said, I'm running for Will County Board member, well, am I running in District 12? Am I running in District 6? Where am I running for? And if they pull it and challenge it, then they might tell me I have an invalid petition because I did not specify. So the good rule of thumb is to be over-specific. That way you have no problems and no questions. Okay. Oops. So again, what this is talking about is if you own a business, instrument of ownership, the position of management. So basically, do you own a business? What type of business? And who are you in that business? Are you a manager, a stockholder, the owner? They want to know, and this is if you've made more than 5,000. This is a form that I was a little bit confused on. And I'm told this is a state Secretary of State's department form. So if you have any questions, I would suggest call them about it, or again, talk to an election lawyer. So I'm not going to go through this one just because for pretty much everyone in the room that I can see tonight, I don't think anyone's going to have to file it. Are there any county board or county-wide candidates here tonight? Okay. Raise your hand if you are in fact a candidate for any office in 2018. Should see a lot more hands. If you're running for precinct committeeman, that is an office, so.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Challenge Larry.
What's that?
Challenge Larry.
If you want to, feel free. All right.
It must be an
I'll tell you.
inside joke, because I don't get it.
He
Okay.
said he's going to challenge me. We live in the same precinct.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
same for-
So
I
if he wants to run against me for committeeman, then it's up to him.
Oh, you're a great crowd.
The second page just talks about more of the businesses, if you have any capital assets, government actions, blah, 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 etc. I'm not going to go through this one because, again, everyone here tonight won't have to go through it, any of it.
So this is not for precinct committee people, this is just if you want to
The
run for
top
higher
sheet,
office.
this statement of economic interest does not apply to precinct committee. I included it in case there were any county board candidates here tonight or anyone that it did apply to, because over the weekend of these trainings, there probably will be. But no, for everyone here tonight, don't worry about that form. But it's good to see it in case
Yeah.
you do decide to run for something later on.
I just copied off of yours.
All right, so the next one is a statement of candidacy. Now this one is one everyone has to fill out. And what this basically says is I am declaring I am running for office. Now, let's see here. The one that's in the packet looks different than the one on the screen. And I apologize for that, I should have looked. The only different part is this top part, the name, address, party, and district. These are forms from the State Board of Elections website that I printed out. This one on the screen here came from the county clerk's office. So it's basically the same form, but it just looks a little different. But the same thing, your name, your address, your phone number, and what office you're running for. This one was pre-filled in as a county board member with a term of 4 years. Now for precinct committeeman, you will write precinct committeeman, term is 2 years, and then whatever your precinct is. So let's see, so for myself or Andrew, we are New Lenox, precinct 14. And those are the only ones I know the precinct off the top of my head. But you would put district would be 14.
That's on our voter's card, isn't it?
Yes, it's on your voter's card. If anyone's not sure of your precinct, you can also ask us. We can look it up on the county clerk's website later on. Sorry about that. If you had a name change during the last 3 years, you would enter that here, formerly known as Larry Smith, until my name changed on, let's say, May 5th of this year. So you would just fill that out. So that's self-explanatory again. If you had a name change for any reason, you just fill that out here. This part here is the same as what's on your forms in front of you. You're just declaring that you are the candidate, that your current address, whether it's city, village, or unincorporated area, you circle that. So I live in the village of New Lenox. Many of you here live in the city of Joliet. And if anyone lives in township, unincorporated areas, you just circle whichever one applies. If you're running for the Democratic Party, which I'm pretty positive everyone here would be, but if you were running as a Republican, as a Green, as a Libertarian, if these parties existed, whatever your party is, you would fill that in here. Again, the office is going to be precinct committeeman or Congress. I think it's representative in Congress. So whatever the title is of the office you're running for, you want to make it very clear, very specific of what the office is. Let's see here. So this form has the general primary election to be held on the 15th day of March 2016. Again, this is a pre-printed form. The one in front of us here has a space for that. If everyone wants to jot this down, you can. The primary is going to be on March 20th, 2018. So that's what you would put there. The county clerk's office will have these forms available on their website. It will be available on Tuesday the 5th. So the forms I gave you, you can use these forms I gave you, or you can just look through them now just to see what we're talking about. But they'll have the pre-printed forms on the website for all county offices starting on September 5th. And if anyone wants to jot it down, it is thewillcountyclerk.com. I'll put the link on our Facebook page. It's probably up there 100 times anyways.
Did you say you could download the paperwork?
Yes, you can download the petition. In fact, that's where I got this. It was on her website, the county clerk's website, and I downloaded this form. It was pre-filled in with certain spots, and then in other areas I typed it in because I'm just very detailed, very neat like that, so I just wanted to type it in. You can handwrite it or you can type it. It's not a problem. Yeah, question?
Are you allowed to put like a nickname in between your name with quotation marks?
You can, yes.
And that's okay.
That's completely fine. So if anyone knows our county auditor, Duffy Blackburn, the way he writes his is Kevin Duffy Blackburn. Great question. You can use nicknames.
And that's the way it will appear on the ballot.
However you put your name right here in the statement of candidacy is how your name is going to appear on the ballot. So again, formerly known as, what's that? Oh, thank you. So if I wanted to, let's see, how old's my son now? He's older. So if I wanted to run as Larry Gilman Sr., I could. And this is names during the last 3 years. My son's 4.5, but I could just say as of Larry Gilman, as of my kid's birthday. Now, if you're running as junior or senior, I doubt you need to get the specific. But yeah, if you want to put a nickname, you can definitely do that. That's completely fine. Are there any other questions? Feel free to stop me at any point. I'm sorry I'm going through this. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
This form isn't exactly Will County specific, right? It seems pretty generic. It'll work in other counties.
The forms, yeah, the forms that I printed out are straight from the State Board of Elections website, so it's good for anyone in the state. What we're looking at on the screen is a pre-printed packet from 2 years ago that's county specific.
Just to be clear, the only people that will see you're on the ballot are the people or it's the party that you write down, right?
Yeah, so on March 20th, if you go to vote at a polling place, or if you take advantage of early voting or vote by mail, if you pull a Democratic ballot, your name would only appear on the Democratic ballot, assuming you run as a Democrat. So if you've got a lot of Republican friends, they will not be able to vote for you unless they choose a Democratic ballot to vote for you.
No, I just have a very Republican boss.
He would not see your name on the ballot. There is a list of candidates that will be on the county clerk's website, I believe. I believe they do that. Sorry, I should know this. And people can find out who's running. But if you're, I wouldn't be concerned about
He
that.
lives very close to me.
If he's pulling a Democratic ballot, he'll see you. Otherwise, we can talk afterwards if you're concerned about that. I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Hello, I'll tell
Okay.
you more about it.
Yeah, but a great question. So precinct committeemen are elected on the primary ballot. For everybody else, the primary is kind of like the first round of the playoffs. Whoever wins the primary moves on to November, but precinct committeemen and also state committeemen for the state party are officially elected in March. So whoever wins that race, for those seats only, that's it, you're the person. You pull a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot, that's how you declare your party. So if you fill this paperwork out as a Democrat, you have to pull a Democratic ballot or you can't vote for yourself and it would become invalid. Question?
Can you be a Republican but request to be on the Democratic primary, or can you be an independent but request to be on the Democratic primary ballot?
You can, as long as you pull that Democratic ballot in March. So in Illinois, we don't declare parties when we register. The way we do it here is whatever ballot you pull in the primary every 2 years is how that works. So if you were a Republican before and you go in March and say, give me a Democratic ballot, you can do that. And you can-
I just meant here on the form, right? Because you say that you're a qualified primary voter of the name of party.
Mhm.
Can you say on there, I'm actually an independent, but I'm running in the Democratic primary?
No. Because, so the way qualified voter, because you're stating that you are a qualified voter and that you're a qualified primary voter of the party. So this basically is the party you intend to vote for. So if you were running as a Democrat, you would be qualifying yourself to be a primary voter of the Democratic Party. So what I was told when I had a training in the past was anyone can sign I'm kind of jumping ahead, but you can sign a petition, even if you're technically a Republican, you can sign for a Democrat because you are saying you intend to be a Democratic voter. So in my case, where I live, it's a pretty Republican area. I could go up and down my street, get probably 40 signatures, and if most of them vote Democratic, those would hold up. I mean, I'm going to go specifically to Democrats, but because we choose our party every 2 years, you can say you will be a Democrat on the March ballot, even if you're currently not. So did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So is there a verification mechanism for that, or?
I'm sorry?
Is there a verification mechanism for that? Do lawyers check that eventually, or they take them by word of mouth and take them at face value?
That's a great
Cross-check?
question. I would refer you to someone better than me. The way I would explain again is that it should be okay. If you're really concerned, I mean, most people know their neighbors, and you should have a good idea of who the Dems are in your area. If you're not sure, there's ways we can find out for you. And I'll get to this a little bit later, but what I said is that if someone's a Republican, they can technically sign for you. There is something in the state law that I have to qualify that with, but when we get to the petition page, I'll explain. All right, so at the bottom of this page, you're going to sign your name as a candidate. Again, you filled out all of the information saying you intend to run, your name, your party, what you're running for, and then you sign signature of candidate. Actually, I'm sorry, you don't sign this part yet. You want to leave this blank because you need to get this form notarized. So you want to leave all of the rest of this blank because you need to sign physically in front of the notary. If I'm your notary, because I am a notary, I need to see you signing this form. So all you want to do is fill out everything from the top to this period right here. You leave the bottom blank until you're sitting in front of a notary. You'll sign, you'll print, and then they'll take care of the rest for you. Okay, now this is the fun one. And again, this one looks a little bit different than what's in the packet. What's in the packet, this is the petition. This is where you're actually going out, getting your signatures, and getting people to know who you are, saying, I want to represent you, please sign for me so I can get on the ballot. What's in the packet is the actual precinct committeeman petition. This is just a general form that's good for anybody. So, again, it's pretty much the same formula. So again, we are saying we're Democrats. We petition that the following person will be a candidate of the Democratic Party. Let me take a look here on the actual form. On the second line of the form, it says in blank, and you want to put your township name and precinct number. So for me, I'm affiliated with the Democratic Party, qualified primary electors of the Democratic Party in New Lenox 14, because that's my township and precinct number in the county of Will, in the village of New Lenox, zip code, county, et cetera, et cetera. Again, so fill out all of your information. You've got the formerly known as part. So the rest of this is the signature part. Again, 10 signatures for committeemen. We recommend 20. If you're running for other office, you'll have to get more signatures. With these forms, you can make copies of the blank ones. It's recommended. What you'll want to do is fill out the top portion. Just fill it out completely with all of your information, then make copies. That way, if you're taking the forms around yourself, you don't have to fill them out each time. If you're running for an office that you need to get some help, if people are going to help take these for you, you don't want to have them fill in something that's wrong. You don't want them to accidentally say you live in Joliet if you live in New Lenox, or to put Bolingbrook if you live in Crete, etc. So go ahead and fill out the top part yourself, make a copy, make 3 copies, 5, whatever you need. And then you get the signature part. Now, the signature part, again, this isn't people voting for you. This is people saying they want your name to appear on the ballot. So sometimes you'll knock on a door and they say, well, I don't know you. Why would I want you to be my person? Again, answer their question, but this is that you're just signing for me to get my name to appear on the ballot. If you want to vote against me later, I hope you don't, but you have that option later on. There are 4 spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the petition packets that we've got with in the packet. Voter's name, signature. This is probably one of the most important parts. People cannot print their name. They have to handwrite it, signing it. The signature is supposed to match the voter registration at the county clerk's office. So if you've got a very bad signature, it doesn't matter as long as it matches what's on the card when you register to vote. But if you print your name, the whole line is invalid. So it's very important when you ask people to sign for you that you explain, can you please sign, not print your name on there. Then you want them to fill in their address. Okay. On the form that I've passed out, there's a second column that actually says voter's printed name optional. I've never seen that before, so I'm a little surprised, but this is a brand new form revised this month. So maybe this, for whatever reason, the State Board of Elections, maybe they've gotten enough people to question that or ask about it, they decided to add that. So I would recommend using this new form because it's going to save you a lot of frustration. I had about 185 signatures that I collected for county board, and probably 10 to 15 of them I had to strike myself because they were printed. So I highly recommend using this form because it makes it a lot easier.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, they strike it out the minute they see that it's printed? Or do they actually check the voter card?
So you have the option as a candidate to strike the signature before it's turned in. And we'll get to that later on. There's a special form you fill out, actually 2 of them. But if you miss this and you turn it in, they will look at the forms if it gets challenged.
The only reason I ask is because, like, I'm Hispanic, and my brother-in-law just fixed his papers. His signature is his name printed. And there's a lot of the Hispanic community that does that.
And that's okay if that's how it's signed on the voter registration card.
Okay.
So that's a great question. If your voter registration card has your name printed, that's fine. For people that are not able to write Some people, their legal signature is an X or some other mark. If that's how their voter card is signed, that's fine on the paper. You would have, and that's also why we recommend getting more than you need, because if I'm a candidate, I may not know that ahead of time, so I'm gonna strike a hand printed signature if I don't know. But I had 155 or so to back me up, and I only needed 60 something. But again, as long as it matches, if your signature is just your name printed, that's fine. Again, if it's just a mark, that's also fine. So that's a great question.
So if the person isn't a voter, you can't get their name on there.
Right, they have to be a registered voter,
Okay.
and they have to live in the area that you're running for.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So in my case, I can't come to you because you don't live in my precinct. I can get Andrew to sign, and I can sign for him if he's running. But we can't ask anyone else. So if you're running for Will County Clerk, you're not going to go asking people in DuPage or Cook County because they can't. But if you're running for any office, so again, they have to live in the district that you're running for.
And the date that they're looking for, that's March 20th, did you say?
Yes, the date of the primary
election?
is March 20,
Okay.
2018.
Can your spouse or anyone living in your house sign for you too?
Yes, and you can sign your own petition as well. So the very first signature on your first page of petitions,
Oh,
hopefully will be your own.
okay.
So great question, I forgot to mention that.
Also, you can't have your wife sign for your name on somebody else's petition.
Yes, the person's name that's on the petition has to be their own signature. They cannot sign for anybody else.
Uh-huh.
So if you're at a party, you gotta pass that clipboard around. You can't just have one person signing everybody. Great question. Yeah, Greg.
What if you have a middle initial on your voter registration card, but you don't put that on the form? Would that be invalid or not?
Better not be.
Right.
That's something I'll have to get back to you on. I
Just
don't
a
know.
question.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. If you write it down, so like I said before, I'm not a lawyer. We do know quite a few election lawyers and lawyers in general, so if you're running for anything and you want to check with a lawyer but you don't know any, let us know. We can put you in touch with them. You can also speak with they won't give you legal advice, but you can ask the county clerk's office or the State Board of Elections if you have general questions. I speak with both all the time. They're always extremely friendly and extremely helpful. So let me get back to you on that, because I don't know.
What's the issue? You can only sign for one candidate, Larry?
No, give me 1 second. So the question was if you're only allowed to sign for one candidate, and that's something that was brought to my attention last week. I called the State Board of Elections. There's a misprint in the candidate guide. So the candidate guide, I left it in our office. It's about 75 pages. It's a document put out by the State Board of Elections that just goes over all of the, sorry, I should have had this up already. Oops. Just goes over all of the guidelines for running for office. And in this packet, it says that you're only allowed to, somewhere in here it says you're only allowed to sign for one candidate for office. So if you're signing for a candidate for Congress, you can't sign for two of them, even if they're on the same party. That's a misprint in the guide. You're only allowed to sign for the same party though. So let's say you live in District 14. You could sign for Jim Walls, for Matt Broley, but you couldn't sign for Randy Hultgren because he's a Republican. And that's what I was talking about earlier. So if you are technically a Republican, but you want to declare as a Democrat, or if you're just a Republican wanting to sign, like my neighbors are Republicans, but they said they'd sign for me. You're only allowed to sign for one party. So if they sign for me, as my friends as Republicans, if they sign for me, that's fine. But if they then sign for a Republican for anything, their signature is no longer valid on any petition. Does that make sense, or do I need to kind of explain that differently?
But so it's struck from both people's,
Technically, it would be struck by both. Now, I don't think I would know if they signed for someone else. So again, get more signatures than you need. But that's kind of how it works. You can sign for anybody, but once you sign for one, you can't sign for both parties. And I have to stress I'm not a lawyer, because now I'm remembering that, reading somewhere that if you sign for both parties, your signature is only valid for the first one you signed for. So if I sign for a Democrat, then a Republican, then a Democrat again, don't do that, but my signature may be valid on the Democratic forms, but not the Republican. So it gets weird.
You know who, which
Yeah,
one
how they gonna
signed
know?
first, you don't know.
Hang on. What would-
Is it true? Because when I ran, they told me to ask, even though you were a registered voter, but you have to have voted within for the 2 last elections, otherwise you could not sign the petition. That's what I was told.
Now, in your case, you ran for a municipal office, which was nonpartisan, so the rules are a little bit different. These are specifically party races this coming year, so Democrat or Republican, or if you're local, you may have a Green Party, not in Will County, but there's others. So these are strictly party elections. For the municipals, in the odd-numbered years, your village elections, your library board, the rules are different because some of them are nonpartisan. So I'm not sure that's true, what you were told, but it's something I'd have to look into next year when we get to that point. Question?
I heard the same thing as you, in that the first party that they sign for is the valid one, and the way that they determine that is whoever turns in the form first is the valid one.
Okay.
Separate to that, I have a question on this.
Sure.
Which is, if you're running for other offices that require more than 10 signatures, is it still a similar form? Grids? And
Yeah.
each page has about 10 or something, you have to have multiple sheets?
So the question is if you're running for multiple offices, so precinct committeeman is a party office. It's not a public office, it's just within the Democratic Party. If you are also then running for county board, let's say, you can do that. You'll take 2 sets of petitions around, and you'll just ask, can you sign for me here, can you sign for me here as well? The packet one is specifically for precinct committeeman. But the one here is just for primary petition. So this same form could be duplicated for any office.
But if you need, let's say, 100 signatures, you need 10 of these sheets.
Correct.
To turn around them.
Yeah, just have a bunch printed. These both have 10. I want to say the Joliet City Council petitions had 14 lines on it last year. So the state law gives you the general form of what it's supposed to look like, but this is not, you could make your own as long as it has all this info on it, technically. I wouldn't do that, I would use the state forms or the county forms. But yeah, you just make as many copies of these as you need, so 10 on a page. If you're running for state senator, the petition signatures, you have to get between 1,500 and 3,000. So you're gonna need, what's that, 300 sheets. So if you got a buddy who's got a copier, or just go to Kinko's exist anymore, go to Staples, just make as many copies of the sheets that you need. Question?
Are there any requirements regarding the circulators who are collecting the signatures? Do they have to be
Yes.
Democrats or
Nope.
they have to live in your district? Okay.
Great question. Did everyone hear that?
No.
Okay, so what he was asking is, are there any requirements for the people taking your petitions around for you? And that is literally this part right here. So this part at the bottom talks about the circulator. So in this case, let's just pick on Andrew again. If Andrew's deciding that he wants to be very generous and take a form around for me, he's going to have my information at the top because I'm the candidate for office, but he's going to fill in his information down here. So I'm not going to put your address, but you fill in the information down here. Now what this says is that you're 18 years of age or older, you're a citizen of the United States, that the signatures were signed in your presence, and that they were within the time frame. You do not have to even be a registered voter in Illinois in order to circulate petitions. You have to be eligible to be a registered voter. So you have to live in the state, you have to be 18, but that's it. So Morgan, when she turns 18, if she's not registered to vote yet, she can still take a petition around because she reached 18. That's the only requirement. And then again, the bottom part, this is also one that has to be notarized, so make sure you tell your people, do not sign these parts yet until you're in front of a notary. Yeah.
Another question on the signature. If you sign for a Democrat in a primary, and then people start collecting signatures for general elections, do you also have to sign for Democrats in the general election petitions, or can you sign for Republicans? Does it like sort of end after the primary?
So for Democrats and Republicans, you won't get signatures again. If you're running for county board, in Will County, there's two seats per district. Let's say there's 6 people in your district. If you win your primary, you automatically move on to November. You don't have to refile.
If you're an independent, let's say, if you're running.
Right.
Yeah.
The ones who will have to collect signatures after the primary would be independents or what's considered a new party. So if you want to decide you're running on the mattress party, because that's the first word that came to my mind, don't ask me why. You would get your signature after, I don't know why, I'm sorry. You get your signatures after the primary. There are rules to that as to whether you signed in the primary for a party, if you can sign for the independents or the new parties. I don't recall what those rules are. It should be in the candidate guide, which is available on the Board of Elections website. I've got a copy here, and we have a printed copy in the back. So there are rules on that. I don't remember what they are, but we can look into that for you. Now, something I should bring up, just because I think it's important, is there's something called a sore loser law. That's a nickname for it. But what that says is if you run as a party candidate in a primary and you lose your primary, you cannot run for the same party as an independent or a different party. So let's say you're running for county board. Out of those 6 people, you come in 4th. Okay, you lost. Sorry, but it happened. You can't pull a petition and say, I'm running for independent for that same office. You can run for a different office, but you can't run for the same. So if anyone is facing, so if Andrew beats me, well, never mind, that's a bad example. Use the county board example. Any other questions? Yeah.
So if somebody prints and you catch it, can you just cross it off and have them sign like below it on the next line, or is it just?
Yeah.
You can't, okay.
Yeah, you can do that. And what you'll do is you'll have to put a line through a straight line through the whole invalid signature line, and then there's a couple of forms that we'll talk about later, and you have to notate that you are the one removing this signature from the petition. All right, any other questions on that?
So if you have 20 signatures, there's only 10 there, should we just print on another form and just have it sign it?
Yeah, to get 20 signatures for precinct committeemen, just print 2 copies of this, or use the one I passed out and just make a photocopy. And like I said, as many as you need. Now on the very bottom, after the notary part here, it says sheet number, and there's a blank. Don't fill this out yet. The reason for that is when you're turning in your final packet at the end of all this, when all the fun's over, you've gotten your signatures, you've gotten your notary, you've got your packet together, these have to be in sequential order. So the pages have to be numbered in order, 1 through 600, let's just say. So if you've got 6 people taking petitions around for you, and they all fill in sheet number 1 on all of their forms, you are out of luck. So what you want to do is have them take their petitions around, have them get it notarized, or if you're around, we're doing a notary party here, November 24th, which is the Friday right after Thanksgiving, but it's also the Friday right before petitions are turned in. Get the forms notarized, put all of your signatures together, take 2 seconds and number them yourself. But also then make sure you number them, because if you turn it in and it doesn't have numbers on it, you're out, potentially. Any other questions about this petition page? This is probably the most involved page out of the packet. It's also the most important. So are there any other questions about any of this? Yeah.
Does the notary have to live within the district or have any requirements?
Notary has to be a registered notary, and your commission has to still be active. Don't worry about what that means. Show up here in November, we'll take care of it. If you are a notary, it's not advised that you notarize your own signature. So signing here, the state board, there's never been a legal challenge on this, so the election authorities don't know how that would be handled. But good rule of thumb is just have someone else do it. Okay, loyalty oath. Again, this is a optional form, and I say optional, but it's just fill it out if you want to. Basically what it says again is you are a citizen of the state of Illinois and the United States. You're not affiliated with any communist organization or any communist front organization or any foreign political blah, blah, blah. You're not a communist. You don't have to fill this in. Everyone I've talked to says you don't have to, but it's highly recommended. But if you don't fill it in, they can't do anything about it, but fill it in. It's not that big of a deal. Question?
What if you are a communist?
If you are a communist, you do not fill this in, because this is a legal certified document that would be notarized. And this used to be in the packets, and there was a court case. It's in the candidate's guide. The Communist Party sued the state, somebody's, and they determined it's optional now. So if you are a communist, don't fill this in, because you would be submitting basically a false document, and that's it.
Is the DSA considered a
What's that?
communist? Is the DSA a communist front organization?
Democratic Socialists of America. Oh, sorry.
You're certifying that you are not affiliated directly. I don't know if the Democratic Socialists of America would be considered a communist group for terms of this. This is communist organization versus Democratic Socialists.
They'll say
So
communist front organization. You could say DSA is a front for communism.
You could say anything. Oh, yeah, we are filming this. This will go up on our website for anybody that cannot be here for any of these, but don't worry about it. I don't know the answer to that. I would refer you to an election lawyer, or ask the DSA. If you're a member of DSA, we've had them here before, some nice people. Ask them. They probably would know. I don't know the answer. I'm not a member of DSA. Great question, but I don't know. Any other questions on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you suppose Trump filled that out?
Yeah, right.
So as far
You
as
don't
I
have to
know,
answer that.
Yeah.
as far as I know, this is just a state of Illinois form. I don't think. Never mind. I won't go into the weeds on it. Yeah.
Aren't
Question.
you a member of DSA?
I am not a member. No.
Why aren't you a member? I'm
He's
just wondering.
filming.
Remember, we're filming this, right? We may refilm tomorrow just in case. What?
You're a com?
I am not a communist.
No.
Is that what you asked me?
Yeah.
I am not.
That's what I told you.
I'm sure my face matches my shirt now. Again, same thing, get it notarized at the bottom. Let's see. So for the forms have to be in numerical order. The only one that applies to is the petitions. You're gonna have sheet numbers on the petitions. The rest of them just need to be in order, and it's filled out the first sheet I showed you. The next one is certificate of deletions. Now, this form is if you go through your signatures before you turn in the packets and you see something that looks questionable to you and you decide, I don't want to take a risk on this signature, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it myself. Like I said before, what you'll do is you'll go back to the signature, you'll put a single line right through the entire line, all the way down. Then you will have to fill this out if you're the one striking your signature or if it's your circulator. So what this means is if you've got people that are taking the form around for you and they want to strike, they have to be the one to strike the signature because it was signed in their presence. So you have to circle whether you're the candidate or the circulator. You strike the line, you also initial the deletion on that line. So you come on, put your signature right here next to the line. Then you note the line number and the page, go away, and what page number that it came from. So let's say we are striking line 5 on page 3. You'll go in here, you'll fill in line 5 on page 3. You'll fill in the name of the candidate, what office they're running for, what party. I'm guessing the form doesn't have the election date filled in, so you fill that in as well. Any line that you're striking, you fill this out for all of them. So if you've got 30, you fill out all 30 on this form. If you've got 1, you got to do it again, but you just put in the 1. What this is, again, you're certifying that you're the one that's deleting the line. So if anyone looks at the petition packet later, there's no question that you're the one that did it. If you don't do this, they might wonder, was somebody messing with the forms? So you're certifying that you're the one who is removing that signature from your own petition. Note, only the person circulating the petition or the candidate who it's being circulated for may strike the signature. So I would check with a lawyer, but what this tells me is if I'm the candidate, I could strike a signature even if someone else got it for me, but I would check on that just to be safe. All right, deleted sheets. If you've got 7 of these sheets, deletion sheet number 1 of 7. So again, don't number these until you're ready to put the whole packet together and you're ready to turn them in November. Another form, because we love paperwork, is the certificate of attached list of deletions. Basically, this says we have deletions on page numbers, and we just told you about it, but we're going to tell you about it again.
Okay.
So, if we have 7 deletions on page 5, you're going to go to the next form and you're going to tell them, we have deletions on page 5. You're going to tell them we have deletions on page 3. Even though you just told them on the page before, you're going to do it again. Why? I don't know. You tell them that there are however many pages of certificate of deletions. So we said there were 7. So you tell them here there are 7 pages attached to the petition. Just fill this out like it says, the name of the candidate, whatever party. And then I'll find out what goes here because there's nothing to tell us. Oh, so this line is what office you're running for. So precinct, committeeman, party, Democratic. And it is Democratic, not Democrat. And then you sign, you have your circulators sign if you've got others, and then you also number these sheets. Again, do it at the end. That way they're all in order. The Fair Campaign Practices Act, this is not in your packet that I've handed out tonight. This just explains how to hold a fair campaign. Let's see. The intent of this is that every candidate for public office will follow basic principles of decency, honesty, and fair play in order to encourage healthy competition and open discussion of issues. Let's see what the other one says. So basically, run a good campaign. Don't get into some stuff that might be not so cool. And it kind of goes on and on. You can fill this in. It's not required as far as I know, but it's not a bad idea to read through it. You definitely want to read through it. Go ahead and sign it. I don't know who this would be turned into because they don't ask for it on the paperwork, the guide for this. The D5 Notice of Obligation, this is talking about the financial stuff. So if you guys were here a couple of months ago when we had the representative from the State Board of Elections who talked about campaign disclosure, once you hit $5,000 as a campaign, and it's a combination of monies received and spent combined, you have to start filing with the State Board of Elections. There's information, the video of that seminar is on our website, on our Facebook page rather. This is a notice to you that you have to do that, and it kind of goes into some of the specifics of that. So nothing to fill out on this, it's just informational. But that's included on a lot of the guides here. So I'm going to go back to the petition page itself because there's a couple of tips that I'd like to share with everyone. On the form on the screen here, the county is filled in for us. Most of us are going to be running for office strictly in Will County. So it is absolutely fine to go ahead and pre-fill in portions that you know will apply to everyone. So if everyone is running, if everyone you're going to get a signature from lives in Will County, go ahead and fill this in ahead of time. That way it's filled in correctly. If you know you're running in New Lenox for a New Lenox position, you can go ahead and fill in New Lenox ahead of time. It's completely fine. That way there's no question. The street address, a lot of people will ask, does the person signing have to fill in their own address? Or can the person collecting the signature fill the address in for them? The answer is either way is fine. Technically, the person who is collecting the signatures can fill in the address, but it's recommended that you get the person signing the petition put their own address down. The reason for that is, I don't have it with me today. When they're, all right, I'm going to jump into a little bit of technical part. Well, this is all technical.
Oh, boy.
After you put the petition packet together, you get it all ready and you turn it in, the petition packets become public information. People can request your packet, they can look at everything, and then they can decide if they want to challenge you or not. And that's why we go through how to do this correctly, because the whole reason you want to be so careful with all of this is because in case you get challenged, you want to make sure that everything you filled in will hold up. So when you're, and there's no guarantee you're going to get a challenge. If you're running for precinct commitment, it's not that likely that you're going to get a challenge. If you're running for a county-wide office, even county board or higher, you're more than likely going to get a challenge. If you're running for state level or higher, you're definitely going to get challenged. So that's why we go over all this information. It's just in case you get challenged, you want to make sure your petitions are strong enough. So if you're filling in the street address for everybody, let's say you're in an area where there's a lot of people with real sloppy writing. What they can say, if all of the street addresses are in one person's handwriting, they might challenge you. I'm going to see there was a specific term that was used. If anyone was at the County Democratic meeting a couple of months ago. You have it. They have started using what is considered, what's called a pattern of fraud as a way to challenge your petitions and basically try to get you off the ballot. Question?
So if they strike like maybe 2 or 3, what's the propensity they'll strike the whole sheet?
It depends.
Because they kind of alluded to the fact that that
Right.
would be a possibility.
So if you've got one where the signature is handwritten, it's printed like we talked about earlier, they can strike just the one line. If all of the street addresses are printed with the same person's handwriting, they might challenge that under the pattern of fraud. They could strike your entire sheet if it's determined to be a pattern of fraud. So if you're at a house and they give it back to you and say, just fill in my address for me, you can do it. But you want to try to get people to fill in their own address as much as possible. So that's...
But if they tell you their handwriting's so bad nobody can read it, you want that address, so
Yeah.
then you might want to choose to do it yourself.
Right, and real quick about what the process is when they go and take a look at your signatures, they're going to pull the voter registration card. So and they're going to try to match that the signature and the address matches the voter card. That's why legibility is so important. If they can't read the signature, can they read that address? Because if they can read the address, but the signature is terrible, they can still pull the card based on the address, and if the signatures match, you're fine. If they can read the name, but are having a hard time with the address, they may or may not be able to pull that ballot card, and you may lose that signature. If they can't read the signature, and they can't read the address, you're going to lose that signature. So, right, as Mimi said, if they're telling you their handwriting is very bad, go ahead and fill it in for them. But you want to make sure you're not doing all of them, just because, again, you want to avoid anything that will look suspect. You want to avoid anything that might give your opponent a reason to challenge you. Since plenty of our people here in the room tonight have taken petitions around before, are there any tips, hints, or suggestions that you have for anything, whether it's about signatures, how to knock on doors, or anything else? Mimi?
Oh, man, let me see.
Yeah,
He's
I
done most
collected,
of my work.
for my wife, a Commissioner Plainfield Park District, and it was a great learning experience. I was amazed at how many people weren't home even on a Saturday afternoon, and how many people said, I'm not registered to vote. I had a few people who said, I don't know your wife, how can I sign this petition? And I said, look, I'm a married man, you're a married man, I gotta go back home, please sign this. And also, I mean, it really was sobering and discouraging how many people are not registered voters, or well, my husband does the voting, or my wife does, and they're not home. So you gotta be ready.
What you did do.
You gotta be ready not to get, oh, right, yes, thank you, that's right. We are married, many years. And what Mimi's talking about, I owe this to, it wasn't you, was it? Who was that guy? From Jennifer's staff. This guy from Jennifer's staff, what he said was, this is worth getting up for, because it's really worked. And I don't know why everything came together.
Go by Larry so you're on camera.
Oh.
Yeah, we're filming this, and we're going to put it right
Thank
away,
you.
so.
All right.
Sorry, sure.
Oh, where do I stand?
Right there. Right where you are. Camera's right here.
Okay, so what this fellow said, so I can't take any credit for it, he said, you know what, when it would be a good time to get signatures is on election day. This is going to take a few minutes to explain this. And I did do this. Our precinct is over near Groudon and Caton Farm. And so this was incredible that they have this little monument there by the polling place. It's got a table surface on it. So I put my cards there, and I said, "Hi there."
Outside.
Yes, and I said, as people going, I said, I'll talk to you on the way out. So it wasn't politicking seriously for anybody voting that day. I was not. For anybody who was up on the anybody who's running for election. As they came out, I said, "Hi there. My name is Phil Sheets. I'm a little dusty on this one. My name is Phil Sheets. My wife, Mimi Poling, is a Park District Commissioner, and the next election is this coming spring, and you're a registered voter. Would you please sign this petition to put her on the ballot?" And that's and so yeah, I got at least a few sheets filled.
Within an hour, you
as long as I was willing to
like
stay out there.
150. It was incredible
Yeah.
because everybody coming out of there was a voter, was a registered voter.
Yeah.
And you knew what precinct they were from. So it was really, really good way to do it.
Yeah.
The other way that he's done very good is when cars are all parked at the elementary school, waiting for their kids to come out. You got 15-minute window there
Before
to
they
knock
come
on,
out and stop
knock
you.
on car windows.
For bothering people.
That was very effective too.
Yeah, door to door, that's murder. You gotta hang in there, door to door. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the collecting on election day will work if those periods overlap.
Yeah.
So when we go to vote next November of 2018, you can sign for anyone running for a local office in 2019. So again, your village boards, your mayors. For this cycle, what we're talking about today, you won't be able to do that because the petitions, again, are due on December 4th. But some people have collected signatures at train stations. I've been told stand outside a grocery store, ask them first. Even a gas station, I've been told that's going to be a good place. Again, if you're going to be out of business, ask them. Going door to door, you're going to get a lot of stories. Any experienced canvasser can share a lot of interesting stories, I'm sure. But does anyone else want to share any of their experiences or any tips or have any questions? Yeah, Regina.
If you're a deputy registrar, can you register them to vote as you're getting signatures?
Great question. No.
Okay.
So the question was, if you are a deputy registrar, if you go to a door and they say they're not a registered voter, can you register them? The answer is no. What you can do
Go back.
is correct. You can go back 5 minutes later, and you can say, "Hi, my name is Larry. I'm a deputy registrar. I understand you're not registered to vote. Would you like to do that?" Then you can get them all set up. Or what you can do at the door at the same time, if you've got the petition sheets, is you can go, you can guide them to register online. And you don't have to even be a registrar to do that. So just send them to the Will County Clerk's website. There's a link to have them register online. Because when you're doing voter registration, you're acting as a registrar, you're not able to do any kind of politicking. So anything where you're giving information or doing anything for a specific partisan reason. So great question, but the answer no. You can't register them at the same time, but there's other things. Well, what you can also do is go out with a buddy.
Yeah.
So if Regina and I are walking out in her area, she gets to a door and they say they're not registered, I can be a block behind. She can call me and say, hey, this is the address, they're not registered, can you go? That way you don't have to go back. So partnering up with people who are registrars, that's another way that you could get that done.
Really come back in 5 minutes and you can do it?
Yeah.
When I went through the deputy registrar training with the county clerk, she literally told me you could go back 5 minutes later.
Depending on how you dress.
What's that?
Depending on how you dress. You can't show up 5 minutes later, elect me, shirt on. You can't.
Yeah, if you're wearing any kind of buttons for a candidate or a T-shirt with any kind of electioning things, take a change of shirt with you and take off the buttons. Thank you. But yeah, so if you're dressed, so I would have to take off my name badge. I could take off my name badge, go back, and I'm good to go. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions?
You went over this a little bit and then I basically understood, but then I started making my list of who I'm having signatures for. They have to be the same precinct or just same district? Or just home of left?
It depends what you're running for. So they have to live within the boundaries of the office you're running for. So if you're running for precinct committeeman, it has to be someone living in the same precinct.
Same little neighborhood?
Yes. We will find you 10, 20 people. Trust me, they're out there.
I was thinking, there's about 5 of these people that are just over the border. And because you remember, I don't know if you remember on my map,
Yep.
this big area and it's basically split into two. So I can't go on that other side.
All the precinct maps are, we actually have them, using a couple to prop up the projector. All the precincts look very strange. They're drawn based on population, and it's this whole formula and map design process. But again, if you're not sure of your precinct, we can look it up for you. If you want to see what the precinct looks like, we've got the maps. We can find you 20 people to go ask. You may need to introduce yourself to someone you don't know. Horror, I know.
Should you be able to find those online? Your precinct?
Yes, you can go to the willcountyclerk.com, and there is a section where you have polling place lookup. I would show you all that, but there's no internet connection right
No,
now.
that's fine.
So I apologize for that. But if you don't know, that's how I would find out for you. I would pull up the website on my phone, and which I can do afterwards if you want. Put in your address, and we can figure out what precinct you live in. So yeah, you can find that out as well. Any other questions?
So as soon as I get my signatures, I can just have someone notarize it and be done.
You can. Like I said, what you have to wait for is the filing period, November 27th through December 4th. Oops. So if you wanted to just hold it, you could put it all together right away, or you can just hold on to it until just before that filing period. It's up to you. You cannot turn it in until that filing period, so it's up to you.
So the first person to turn in get the first spot on the ballot for that election?
It's a lottery, right?
Well, if it opens at 9 AM, who's ever there at 9 AM, there'll be a lottery. If there's only one person there at 9 AM, then that person will be first. And the same thing at the last moment. So if you take it in the middle, you're going to be between the group that's at the first and at the last.
Right. So yeah, if you go on the 29th, let's say, you're going to be in the middle of the pack, like Mimi just said, after the people who are there at the beginning. You'll be in order when you turn it in, but there's a lottery at the beginning and a lottery at the end. For all of these, again, you turn them in if you're running for precinct committeeman or anything within Will County. You'll go to the Will County Clerk's office, which is over on Chicago Street here in Joliet. If you're running for a state central committee or state rep, state senator, a statewide office, or anything for Congress, you will have to go to the State Board of Elections in Springfield. whenever you turn them in. So,
There are some elections, like the Park District is this way, where there's 2 counties, and you still only have to go to Will County to file.
okay. Yeah, when you start talking about the municipal races, is it always the clerk's office or is it with the actual authority itself? So like if you're running for library.
Yeah, you
go-
take your statement of financial, what's that called? This
Statement of economic interest.
economic interest, that you take to the clerk.
Okay.
But then, yes, you give it to who's ever the authority, the election authority at the Park District or at the library or at the school.
Okay. So in this case, for this election cycle, that doesn't apply, so you would go to the clerk's office, but next year when we do this training for the people running in spring of 19, that will be something a little bit different. So you go turn it in, where you turn it in depends on what race you're running. But in this case, most it's the county clerk. Matt, you'll be going to Springfield. You don't have to turn it in yourself if you have someone you really trust. Let's say you can't make it on a Monday at 8, 9 o'clock to Springfield or to the county clerk's office. You can have someone that you really trust do it for you. I recommend taking it yourself though. People have asked me, can you mail the petitions in? Yes, you can. I do not recommend it one bit, because they're not responsible if it's lost or if they don't receive it until after the deadline is passed. And if it's after the
Make
deadline.
a copy. After you've numbered all your pages,
Yep.
make a copy.
Yep, just in case. Some candidates have sent thank you cards to people. Hey, I got on the ballot, thank you. You may want a copy for whatever reason, so yes, make a copy. I think I have at least one of mine scanned just because I thought, hey, this was cool, I did this. So yeah, again, you can mail it, but I do not recommend it, but the question has come up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Does anyone else have any questions about anything?
Make sure you have the right petition form. There's so many different
Yes.
forms.
Yes, and the form number is going to be on the top of every form right here on the right. And each form has a different number. And that's the economic interest. Each form is going to be different. So again, the Will County Clerk's website has a specific part for candidates. And you can then click on County Board. And that a week from Tuesday on September 5th, that link will be active. You can take a look at what forms are available on the website. When you're ready to do your petitions, if you're a first-time canvasser, first time ever going out collecting signatures, if you want someone to go with you because you're nervous, you've never done it before, let us know. It only is going to take you about an hour or so if you're collecting 20 signatures for precinct committeemen. We're more than willing to try to help anybody out. If you're running for a higher office where you're going to need a couple of thousand, reach out and ask as many people as you know, but we're as an organization we don't have the resources to be able to do that, but we can ask around if anyone else wants to help out with it. We're more than willing to offer the help we can give. But don't pass up an opportunity to run because you're not sure how to do this, or because you're afraid, or you just don't know. Yes, I'm doing the training now. If you have any questions and want to walk with me, have me walk with you, or just want to go one-on-one with me, feel free to ask me. Again, if you want to talk to any of those election lawyers we know, let me know. I can put you in touch with a few people. And I encourage everyone here to run for precinct committeemen in any office you can. Now, there are some people who are married. You guys are going to have to fight it out for which one of you is going to want to run in that precinct. Sorry, you can, well, let me rephrase that. You can both run. Only one of you is going to win. So, but it's a great way to get involved. The precinct committeemen, for those of you who may not really understand, we're going to talk about this in much more depth next month. What you're running for, the precinct committeeman, is to be the representative for your neighborhood. A precinct is a square mile around your house. So it's a few blocks. You're going to be your representative to your local township party and the county party. So you're going to be the person that they can come and ask, hey, what's going on in politics around here? That's what you're running for. You get to vote on anything that's comes up at the county party or in your township party. You get to vote for the chairman or chairperson. That's what the job is. You're going to go out knocking doors, trying to get people out to vote in every election. Some committeemen go all out with bags of literature or newsletters. Some just make phone calls. But basically that's what you're running for as a committee person, is just to represent your area. So I really encourage everyone who's eligible, who can, who wants to, go out and do this. It's really simple. And if you have any questions or any problems, feel free to let us know. Question? Yeah.
So what if there's already a precinct committee person that's been doing my precinct for a long while? Would I be better off filing for a different precinct or doing my own, or do they reallocate me to where they need me, or what? Yeah, how does
Great
that work?
question. So you can only file to run in the precinct you live in. So if the person who's in your precinct, if you are okay with them doing the job, you think they're doing a great job, you can make the decision if you want to challenge them or not. If the person's never knocked on your door and you're not sure, or you just want to run against them, that's also a decision you have to make. Now, becoming a committeeman, this topic tonight is how to become an elected committeeman. After the election in March, there's a 30-day waiting period while the county parties reorganize. Then you can become appointed to any precinct in the county. So if there is someone who runs in your precinct and you choose not to, you can try to get appointed to the precinct next to it.
So I should just run from my home precinct, and then after that's all over with, if there's some opening someplace else, then I can technically just go for that?
Yeah, if you run in your precinct and you don't win, you can ask to be appointed to the precinct over. Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, if you do have something and you just are shy or don't want to ask on camera, we'll go ahead and turn it off. If anybody is able to, we have some donation jars on the tables. We do appreciate anything that you can. There's some food and beverages still left over, so feel free. If you ordered a Dump Trump shirt, the shirts are in, so if you haven't picked them up already, please do so. And again, the Will County Resistance Fair is tomorrow in Bolingbrook at the Holiday Inn, 10 to 4. It's going to be a great day. Please stop by our table, say hi. There's going to be some seminars as well, just learning other ways to get involved. Thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to stick around for a while. We'll just socialize, talk politics, and have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.